Superheroes have been part of human culture centuries before Superman was even inked on a page. With the likes of Greek mythology figures such as Hercules and biblical tales of Moses leading his people out of the desert to freedom. Most are filled with hope and action packed, but few cross into other, more dark and twisted tales, like Perseus and his challenges. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 superhero horror films. Number 1, Brightburn. A twisted take on the Superman mythos. What if that little boy from Krypton had landed on Earth, but instead of turning good, embraced his powers for full evil? Kind of like how Goku was supposed to do in Dragon Ball Z. With a mission to enslave the planet and destroy anyone who opposes you, and enough powers to accomplish that, what 10-year-old wouldn't consider this option, unless they were of pure heart? Kids can be cruel after all. This film sees exactly that happen as little Brandon starts discovering his powers, using them to torment his bullies, get his way with his parents, and even break the hand of his crush after she turns him down. Soon, he's blowing up entire buildings, and the film eventually ends with him taking over the planet, as far as we know. There's supposedly a sequel in the works, but with Gunn busy working on reviving the DCEU, who knows if that will ever happen. It's not the greatest film, but does have some incredible moments of gore. One particular scene involving a jaw and a steering wheel. So be sure to check it out for yourself over on Apple TV. Number 2, Man-Thing. Part of the Marvel Comics universe, the character of Man-Thing functions somewhat like Swamp Thing from DC Comics, in which Man-Thing protects the barriers of the main world from the multiverse. Also, unlike Swamp Thing, Man-Thing doesn't have the memories of some human scientist. He's just some super enchanted swamp monk. And for some reason, the nexus of the multiverse just happens to be in the Florida Everglades. Now, this film is loosely, and I mean very loosely, connected to the MCU, only by their whole multiverse storyline currently going on. But with that being said, he does make another appearance in another entry on this list, which is directly connected to the MCU. Originally, they intended to release this film in theaters, but instead they dropped it on the Sci-Fi Channel. And well, it's not great. It suffers from a lot of poor visual effects and bad acting, and overall feels like a ripoff of the Swamp Thing movie with some name changes. It follows a simple plot. Muck becomes monster, monster angry at scientists for doing experiments in the swamp that are harming the environment and killing things. Angry monster hunts and kills them. So if you're looking to complete your All Things Marvel collection, you can check this one out for yourself over on AMC+. Number 3, Blade. A lot of people credit this film and its sequels as not only the first rated R superhero film, but also ushering in the popularity of superhero films. Both are debates for another time though. However, that doesn't mean this film didn't do something no other superhero film had done yet at the time. It was the first time a black superhero from the comics had been adapted to live action. Wesley Snipes absolutely nailed that role, at least in the first film of the trilogy. And for years, everyone had hoped for a crossover with either the X-Men film franchise or the Spider-Man universe. Yet due to copyright battles between studios and Snipes' legal troubles, this never came to pass. We will be getting a new version of the character, portrayed by Mahershala Ali sometime in 2025, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. Anyways, this film establishes the origins of the character, how his mother was bit by a vampire while pregnant with him, and so Blade was born with the ability to walk in daylight. something all vampires wish they could do. He, of course, makes it his mission in life to rid the world of their kind, tracking down and killing prominent vampires who create these nests. Once they're killed, the rest of the vamps they turned are effectively cured, in a sense. If you're looking for a fun, quippy, bloody superhero film, be sure to check this one out over on Megogo, Max, and Apple TV. Number 4, Werewolf by Night. Based on the character of the same name, this film comes in 2 flavors, a black and white version and a colored version, each offering their own unique way of telling the same story, but it actually affects how the story is being told. The plot revolves around a secret cabal of monster hunters who gather at Bloodstone Temple to participate in a memorial of the recently deceased leader of the group. During this gathering, they are forced into a deadly competition, which the victor will receive a powerful artifact, the Bloodstone itself. Man-Thing also makes an appearance in this film, establishing his role as the guardian of the Nexus to realities. I preferred the black and white version, as it feels like a classic horror film from the 1930s, even though the effects on display are very well done and ultra-realistic looking for the most part. It's not all doom and gloom though. Specks of comedy are sprinkled throughout, which make the horror elements pop even better. This one is definitely part of the MCU, with theories suggesting it's setting up a future Midnight Sun series. Superheroes who form a group to battle the supernatural and spiritual forces in the Marvel Universe. So if you're a fan, be sure to check this one out over on Disney+. Number 5, Unbreakable. After the success of The Sixth Sense, M. Night Shyamalan hit the Hollywood landscape with a powerful impact, many hailing him as the next Stanley Kubrick. Sadly, as time has gone on to prove, his flame has diminished quite a bit, but that doesn't mean he hasn't left us a few gems in his wake. This film, for example, when it was first advertised, many believed it to be another supernatural mystery thriller. It featured a man who survives a train crash, the only survivor of that crash, and he is completely unharmed. This had everyone's interest piqued, especially since it starred Bruce Willis again, and he absolutely blew audience minds with The Sixth Sense. No one had any idea at the time that this was set up to be a superhero origin story, nor that it would be part of a trilogy of films down the road. It does suffer some pacing issues and M. Night's trademark awkward character behavior and dialogue. But overall, it's a very compelling film and feels eerily grounded for a film featuring a man who is, in all intents and purposes, indestructible and immortal. If you haven't seen it, check this one out as well as Split and Glass. You can find them all over on Amazon Prime. Number 6, The Toxic Avenger. A Troma production, this film not only spawned 3 more sequels and a Saturday morning cartoon series, but it's also being remade with Peter Dinklage starring as the titular hero Toxie. Basically, in Tromaville, everything is chaos. There's punker gangs everywhere, like Stephen King bullies but fueled by acid and hair metal. And so a dorky janitor is terrorized one day and thrown through a window when he lands in a barrel full of toxic waste. This mutates him into the lumpy, testicle-faced Toxie and grants him abilities such as superhuman strength and agility, a super healing factor, and more. He also fights crime with a mop. Now these films are definitely dated, most Troma productions are, and the studio never really gave a shit if it offended anyone. So if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, these films may not be for you. With that being said, they are incredibly violent, over the top, and filled with grotesque humor and creatures. You can check out all 4 movies as well as the cartoon over on Amazon Prime. Number 7, Constantine. Starring Keanu Reeves as John Constantine, a man who tried to commit suicide but made a pact for his soul that if he redeemed himself on Earth, he would not spend an eternity in hell. Becomes an exorcist employed by a special order of the church. Apparently, there's a sequel in the works now, roughly 20 years since the first film was released. The film initially kind of bombed, as Reeves' portrayal of the character was so far removed with his comic counterpart, fans weren't really interested. But it has garnered a cult following in the years since. Honestly, the version played by Matt Ryan for the DC television universe was perfect. And rumors are that Gunn is planning on bringing in the character in a future project played by yet another new face. So we'll see how that goes. However, this film has some pretty intense moments of horror, and possibly one of the best representations of Lucifer, played by Peter Stormare, since Viggo Mortensen portrayed the fallen angel in The Prophecy. I definitely recommend checking this film out if you want more action-packed exorcist-style films. And you can do so over on Amazon Prime and Apple TV.
Hey folks, sorry to interrupt, but we just launched our very own merch store at fatninja.shop. We sell everything from t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and more, so we would greatly appreciate it if you checked it out. All the proceeds go to our future projects, so it helps us make any kind of movies and short films that we want to make in the future. So if you got time, check out fatninja.shop. Thanks again, and back to the video.
Number 8, Guyver, Dark Hero. Portrayed by David Hayter, the man behind the voice of Solid Snake from the Metal Gear series, it's based on a manga series called Bio Booster Armor Guyver. If you're familiar with the recently released Blue Beetle film, then it's similar to that. It's basically a living alien device that when it attaches to a person, gives them a super suit and superpowers. This film is actually the sequel to The Guyver, and for some reason, it was released as Predator 3 in the Philippines, which caused some confusion of fans of the Predator franchise at the time. Unlike the first film though, this one is way darker and much more serious. Much closer to the original source material, and by far, my favorite of the series. Unfortunately, it had a pretty low budget, so it was released direct to video. But it still boasts some interesting special effects, including a full practical suit, which is pretty impressive for 1994. If you haven't seen the first one, it's basically the origin story, and this film takes place 1 year later. Sean, the guy in the suit, is exhausted because he's been non-stop fighting crime ever since he put on the suit. And while he believes he destroyed all the Zonads after taking down the Kronos Corporation, turns out there are still a few left for him to battle. This is one of those films you just have to check out for yourself. It's action-packed and brutal, so make sure to do so over on Amazon Prime and YouTube Movies. Also, if you can't get enough of this universe, check out the anime series Guyver, Bio-Boosted Armor, which you can also find on Prime. Number 9, The New Mutants. Not quite sure which of the X-Men franchise's timeline this takes place in. Most of us guessed that it exists during the world of Logan and was supposed to originally be part of the whole Essex Corp storyline. Well, none of that matters anymore after Fox was gobbled up by Disney and the series was discontinued. I'll be honest, most of the Fox-produced hero films were entertaining, but overall, pretty shit. Even though I was looking forward to the planned X-Force and Alpha Flight films, but now they have found their home within the MCU and have access to almost all of the Marvel roster. I'm intrigued to see what they come up with. This film has a pretty simple plot. A shady organization is holding young mutants captive, experimenting on them, seeing if they can either replicate their powers or use them to their advantage. Those who are too dangerous and unable to be controlled are terminated. The new girl, someone with the ability to manifest nightmares into reality, arrives at the facility, and of course, chaos ensues. Eventually, she combines her abilities with some of her other fellow prisoners and breaks free from the facility. The film oddly feels like early Buffy the Vampire Slayer, definitely influenced by Whedon's sense of humor and horror tropes. But it's an enjoyable little film as long as you don't think too much about the plot holes or connections to other films. If you're curious enough, you can check it out for yourself over on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and Disney+. Number 10. Vampirella. Based on the comic series of the same name for Dynamite Entertainment, the film follows Ella, a vampiress from the planet Draculon, home to a society of civilized vampires. After Vlad Tepes murders all the members of the council, he flees to Earth in order to create an army of bloodsuckers. Ella tracks him down and is found by a group of astronauts on Mars, and brought back home to Earth. And of course, immediately warns everyone and tries to hunt down Vlad. He now goes under the name Jamie Blood and is a Las Vegas performer. She eventually teams up with a special police force who are basically the Men in Black, in all but name, and starts slaying other vamps. The film was direct to video at the time, and it shows. But honestly, if they did a modern remake, it would be a cool movie to see. Until that happens though, be sure to check this version out over on Amazon Prime or YouTube Movies. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any films off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. Make sure to check out our very own merch store over at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go to our next film project, so we'd greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Jamie. Thanks a lot. See you soon.